All right, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are. This is my first time going live here on YouTube solo, so just want to make sure everybody can hear me. Everybody ready to go? Very excited to do this. So very happy. We've got about 97 people in the chat right now. And basically what I wanted to do, so we're going to just kind of do a brief intro. I'm going to talk about a few things. We'll wait for a few more people to go. Um, and just first of all, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to join me here. This is going to be a lot of fun doing this live show. And basically what we're going to be talking about is talking about the relations between China and the United States. But I also want this to be very interactive. I'm going to be answering, any of the questions that you have. So feel free to, throw those into the live chat box there. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and basically kind of share with everybody, what the goal of this channel is, kind of some future projects that I'm going to be working on, and what channel is going to look like in the long term. So let's see. First of all, just want to thank. It's good to see a lot of, I think many of you might have known me from the Let's Talk China show. That I started that last month. I was invited to go on that show, started to gain some more subscribers. And recently I've been putting out a couple of videos that have done really well. So just want to say thank you to everybody who's, supported the channel and what we're doing. So, I'm going to first start off by telling you a little bit more background about myself. I don't think a lot of you really know my China story and why I'm really so passionate about China. So I want to start off really with that story. So in 2006, I graduated university, and I had an opportunity to actually begin my career in Shanghai, China. Now, many of you might have known, if you follow my social media profiles or something, I'm quite into golf. Golf is actually, used to be my full-time profession, and it remains a really great passion and hobby for me. So I had an opportunity to actually go to China to be a golf instructor, and that was my first job that I had in China. I went there in 2007, and I ended up staying for about 10 years in China, living 7 years in Shanghai and 3 years in Hong Kong. Eventually got out of teaching golf, more into golf management, but I've spent a lot of time in China, about 10 years, traveled about 60 different cities around China, spent a lot of time learning Chinese, studying the culture. And, what's interesting, probably many of you know that my wife is Chinese. We have 3 mixed race children, obviously half Chinese, half Caucasian. So it is, great for me, just to be able to talk about China on this YouTube channel, because it gives me a platform to really share some insights. I just had now that I'm living currently in Vancouver, Canada, and obviously I'm American, as many of you know. And, it's just very difficult for me to hear, all of the negative things towards China. And I believe that there's so much fear about China. And the main reason for that fear is people just don't understand. And, the majority of people, they have not had a chance to travel to China. They have not had a chance to, really understand anything. And I think this is really a big fundamental difference when we're talking about cultures. For example, if you look at a typical Chinese person, Chinese people, right now, they are learning English, at at the grade level, right? They're beginning to learn English at a grade level. And I remember when I first went to China in 2007, English wasn't really spoken that much in China. I remember getting in a taxi in Shanghai in 2007. I mean, there was no chance, that you could speak English with a taxi. I mean, everything was in Chinese. It was very difficult to get around. Now, last September, I was back in Shanghai. I got in a taxi, and the taxi driver is, "Hello, sir, where would you like to go?" And, not every taxi driver is fluent in English, but I was baffled. I was like, "Wow, I can't believe you can speak English. This is great." And, he was so keen to speak English with me. So what I've seen in this last 13 years of me traveling to, China, living there, is you see Chinese people are studying English at the local level. They're learning about American culture. The average Chinese person knows a tremendous bit more about, foreign culture and about Western culture than the opposite way around, than the average, American, for example. You take the average American, they don't know anything about China. Probably the only thing they could tell you is that Beijing would be the capital. They use chopsticks in China. I mean, we just simply don't know anything about China. So it's very difficult because we have, Western media, and I've said this before. Honestly, I don't believe that I've ever heard a single positive thing about China shared on Western media. And to me, I think that's just ridiculous. It's very unbiased, and I think this is what's really nice about YouTube and the fact that we have independent um, people like myself, that we are passionate about sharing an actual insight into China, and we just want to really provide this unbiased information. And I think a lot of people have given me this comment with my videos. They have said, Cyrus, we really like your videos because you're very truth based. You present a lot of facts in the videos. And I think one of the interesting thing for me as an American is, I am pro America. I'm from America. I lived there for 23 years. I went to university there. I'm now entering my 14th year of living abroad, and no matter how long I stay abroad, I am always going to be an American. I am always going to identify with America. That is where you grow up and where you spent your certainly your adolescent years, really from 12 to 18. That really defines you as a person, I believe. And so, I spent a significant amount of my early days in America. I am a proud American, but I'm very fortunate as well because I'm one of the very few, I would say 99.9% of Americans have never had the opportunity to go to Asia. And so when I go back home to my hometown of Orlando, Florida, it's always very amazing for me to, talk with, my old classmates and just my old friends. It's very difficult for them to understand just the concept of me being an expat in China. To them, it is so different. I remember one of my friends, they were in Florida, and it's like, man, I've got this job opportunity in Texas, and I'm really nervous. I'm going from Florida to Texas. I mean, the culture is going to be different. I don't know how the people are going to be there. And I was kind of like, man, you're talking to a guy that moved to China. Like, you want to talk about a difference in culture, go from America to China. You go from Florida to Texas, let's be honest. I mean, it's a little different, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's still America. It's still speaking English. I mean, maybe you'll have a little bit more, Texas culture, but it's not that big a difference. And so I think for many people, in America, our worlds in America are not only is it just United States focused, it's much more regional focused. It's very focused on your local town, your local community. So even the concept of like, wow, Cyrus is an expat living in China. I mean, people just can't comprehend that. And so, I would try to, have a conversation. It's like, what's China like? And I'm trying to explain that to them, and I could just see it's over their head. They just don't get it. And that's fine. I'm not trying to say that, I'm better than them or anything like that. I'm just saying, the big point is I want people to realize, to kind of have an insight. And I said, look, there's a lot of misconceptions about China, and again, I think one of the biggest ones is, I remember when I was working in China, I'd go back home, people would be like, wow, Cyrus, it's amazing. You're working in the golf industry, and you are really sacrificing, your personal life, just to build golf in China. That's really commendable. Like, I'd commend you for going to live in a third world country. You're obviously living well below your standard of living by going to a place like China. And I was like, well, actually, I'm living in Shanghai. Have you ever seen pictures of Shanghai? It's the amazing modern metropolis. It's an incredible city. I'm actually working at the #1 golf club in China. It hosts a European tour event, actually a PGA tour event now. And, we have the best golfers in the world come every November to Shanghai. They come play at this golf course. The purse for that tournament is 10 million US dollars. I mean, it's the biggest tournament in Asia. And, it's an amazing thing what we have going on there. And, people just had this perception. And it was even amazing. I'm a member of the United States PGA, and I had the PGA president, he just said, Cyrus, I commend you, for really taking one for the team, go into China and really, having to live in a country like that instead of your home country of America. And again, I think that's what I am. I'm pro-China, but I'm pro-America, and I'm trying to fill that gap. I want people to understand a little bit more about China. I think if you understand something more, you're going to not fear it. And I again, I give this analogy. I say, if I told you, what, for you to get your next salary, for your next paycheck, you're going to have to pass this test in quantum physics. Now, I think many people would be very scared. You'd be very fearful of that test. unless you, of course, you studied quantum physics. But for 99% of people, we wouldn't be able to pass that test because we haven't had any time studying quantum physics. However, if you were to take time and you were to sit down and you were to actually learn it, and then you actually knew about quantum physics, you wouldn't be scared of that test. You would just sit down and you take that test. I think it's a similar analogy to China. If we just take some time to actually analyze what's happening in China, talk to Chinese people. It's amazing. I think in America, how many people that are anti-China have actually ever taken time to talk to Chinese people? How many people have actually said, what do you think? What do you're living here in America, but what do you think of your hometown? What do you think of China and its rapid rise over the last 3 decades? What is your feelings about that? And so I think a lot of people ask me, Cyrus, how do we educate more people? And I hope that YouTube channels like this, and I know there's some great YouTube collaborators that I've been working with, that have done a great job of really showing, the inside track into China. And I just want people to, to really realize, China is doing an incredible amount of good as well. There's a lot of great, good things that are coming out of China. I mean, I talk often about the poverty alleviation. They've set a goal for 2020 to, alleviate poverty completely in China. They're lifting people out of the middle class, out of the lower class into the middle class. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist. I mean, you can go to China, you see how many, developed subway systems they have, just the high-speed trains. The quality of life is getting really better. And, it's really interesting. In my last business trip to Shanghai in September last year, I was taking a taxi, and I love chatting with the taxi drivers, especially in Shanghai, because most of them are all Shanghainese, right? Most taxi drivers, vast majority, well over 95% of them, are local Shanghainese, or they've spent at least 20 years in the city. So the amazing thing is I was driving, I was right down on the Bund, and I was staying at a hotel down in the Bund, and I was talking with the driver, and I just said, what do you feel about Shanghai? What's your thoughts? And he said, I lived in this neighborhood. I was right here on the Bund as a child growing up. This is my memories. We lived in a very poor house, but it was fun. We would jump into the Huangpu River, right there, the big river that splits, the Bund, from Puxi to Pudong, splits it right down the middle. And he said, we used to go fishing in this river. We used to go swimming in this river. This river was our way of life. And I just remember playing as a kid. We would, just play in the streets. We'd have a great time. And he's like, but now look. He's like, now look at my city. Look at all of these amazing, 5-star hotels, shopping malls. I mean, you walk down that Bund area right now, and really that Bund has done a tremendous amount of renovation as well. If you look at the Bund as you're going down the side of the Bund, it extends for many more kilometers now. They've built new shopping mall. I mean, it's a beautiful pedestrian area to walk in and really enjoy the streets of Shanghai. You could just see this man, his pride, of just, I am from Shanghai. I grew up right here on the Bund in a very poor town, in a very poor house, but now it's all been rebuilt. Look at my city. Every few years, the taxi fares are going up in Shanghai. It's one of the biggest cities in China. And he said, I'm making a decent living. I'm making a good living. I can take the metro anywhere I need. The quality of life is better. I'm more optimistic about my life. My life's only going to get better. 5 years from now, it's going to be better than it is today. Another 5 years after that, it's going to be even better. And that's what I hear from a lot of Chinese people is their optimism, the optimism of the future. And I think it's really interesting compared to America, to my home country. I don't think you would, if you ask a typical American, do you think your life's going to be better than in 5 years? I think we have so much uncertainty. We obviously have the upcoming presidential election, that is just, and we know it. I mean, it doesn't matter really who wins. If it's Donald Trump continues or if it's Joe Biden gets in, I mean, neither of these candidates is going to be the change that America needs to see. And I think this is just something that we realize in America. Me as an American, I'm very optimistic for 2024. I think many of you might have seen my latest video talking about the two political systems, talking about China and America, and I was analyzing, which system produces better leaders. Got a lot of great feedback from that, a lot of great comments. And the interesting thing about that is when we look at the United States democracy, so much of it has become a popularity contest. So much of it is the art of public speaking. And, it's quite amazing for Donald Trump, actually, I still, to this day, I mean, I say he's a genius. I mean, for him being able to pull off the upset that he did to win the presidency. And I remember, and I was in Hong Kong at the time in 2016 when he was elected, and I was asking Chinese, Chinese friends, what do you think about this? And they're just like, wow, 牛逼, 真的很牛逼的, right? 牛逼 is like awesome, like amazing. And, I mean, I think at that time it was just almost like, you know what, we have a lot of respect, like he's the American dream, right? He's this New York businessman, celebrity status, big talker, bit arrogant, kind of your typical American. And all of a sudden he just says, you know what, I'm going to do it my way. I'm not a politician. I'm not going to talk like a politician. I'm going to just say what I want, when I want, and do it my way. And China's like, wow, like that can happen in America. That's pretty amazing. I mean, it almost like that's good for you guys. I like that, obviously, but we have our political system that is very structured, right? It's a system of meritocracy. It's based on, achieving things. You look at, President Xi and what he's been able to do in his career. It's quite amazing. I mean, it's taken 4 decades to get to the top position in China. His father was a high-ranking Communist Party member. That did not help him go any faster. It still took him 4 decades of hard work, putting in the work. He has had a very straight line, very straightforward stance towards corruption throughout his career. Obviously, we saw that in 2012, as soon as he was elected, launched a nationwide anti-corruption campaign. I mean, I think China continues to just get better and better. It's becoming more and more, international on the standards. And, going back to that question, what do I feel, for the future of America? I mean, I'm more optimistic for 2024. And that's what I did say. That is the one good thing about American system is no matter how crazy it gets, all we need is one person that is a phenomenal public speaker. One person that can really captivate the minds and the hearts of Americans to really change the entire direction of the country. And I think the best example was Barack Obama, and Barack Obama is an amazing public speaker. And again, politically, he was very inexperienced when he was elected as, the president of the United States. But he was the first African-American president. He was a great public speaker. But again, I've highlighted that in my last YouTube video when he gave that speech at the Democratic National Convention in 2004. I mean, he just gave a patriotic, amazing speech. I mean, it was one of the speeches where it didn't matter if you were a, Republican or a Democrat. You simply were so inspired to be an American. And I really believe that was the catalyst. That one speech alone pretty much guaranteed him the White House. 4 years later, when he started running, it's like, man, that's the guy that gave that speech. Yeah, he is an amazing speaker. And it's just so much of it is momentum. And so I am, as an American, I'm very optimistic, saying, you know what, 2020 is not going to be the year, right? It doesn't matter who wins. It's not going to be the change that America needs to see. However, let's hope that we have a young leader that rises up in America that has a little bit more international perspective. I think one of the things that I just can't stand is Michael Pompeo and his comments about China. I mean, I just wonder, I'm like, have you ever been to China? Have you ever studied China? Do you know anything that's actually happening in China? It's really funny. I saw a recent thing on Twitter was really funny, as he sent out a message and he said, at the end of the day, the United States just wants the Chinese people to be successful. This is a quote from Michael Pompeo. We want the Chinese people to be successful. And the responses on Twitter were amazing. So I think my favorite one was somebody tweeted back the photo of in Wuhan, the big pool party that happened in Wuhan. And it was a Chinese national. He said, Mr. Pompeo, we're pretty successful over here. It's your turn. It's America's turn. Like we want you to be successful too. And I think that's just so funny about this relationship is that, and I've gotten into arguments about this with people where people say, Cyrus, we will never know truly the hearts and the minds of Chinese people. We'll never know what they want unless we give them a democracy and we allow them to vote. That's the only way. And I said, okay, let's just go with me on this one. Okay, if you look at national polls in China, but not only in China, but also outside of China, if you look at national polls, you talk to Chinese people, the vast majority of them, and I mean well over 90%, and I'm not going to say everybody, because I know there are Chinese nationals that do not like the Chinese Communist Party. There's a few. Of course, there's some. You're never going to have 100% support. But let's be honest, the vast majority, well over 90% of Chinese are supportive of the Communist Party of China. They are and they are supportive of the direction of the government. And why wouldn't they be? Look at the last 30 years, what China's been able to achieve, the direction that they're going. It's like, you know, we're on a train moving fast in this direction. And, you know, why would we want to stop it? You know, we're just continuing this rise. This is China right now, you know, and it's like, wait, should we just stop and just abandon everything and completely change directions? And that was the thing. I just said, look, if you talk to Chinese people, they're going to tell you that they don't want democracy. They do not want the chance to vote for a president. It's not a big deal. Like, I get it. As an American, it's a huge deal. We take so much pride in the fact that we get to vote for the president of the United States. I mean, voting is such a, you know, we in America, we're always saying, when you go to the polls and you actually vote, you get a little sticker that you put on your shirt, and it says, "I voted." And you walk around for the day and you're like, "Hey, I voted." You didn't get your sticker. Have you voted? You didn't vote? You're American. That's what we got to do. We got to vote. We get to vote for our president. You know, and it's funny because people are so passionate about being able to vote for their leader. And I get it. I mean, that's a great freedom that we have for America. But I don't think Chinese people really care about that. And I think, and I think the other thing is that there's a lot of pressure involved in. I've talked to Chinese people, and I think one of the best comments I had is, you know, voting for your president, that's a very big responsibility, isn't it? I said, it really is. And my Chinese friend, he said, so what do a lot of Americans do? Are they really studying all of the policies? I mean, are they really, it seems like if I'm going to cast a vote on the future leader of my country, this is so important that I would need to study for weeks about each candidate. I need to know all of their backgrounds. I need to know exactly what policies they're going to do. Honestly, that'd be very stressful to try to get prepared to actually be educated enough to cast a worthwhile vote. And I said, yes, there are people like you, but very few. I'd say less than 10%. Most everybody is going to be voting on momentum. And this is what we saw with Donald Trump. Donald Trump was just a fresh of breath air for many Americans, because he was not that politician that just said, for instance, nothing against Joe Biden, but he's been in political office for 4 decades. He's your distinguished politician. When you ask him a question, he knows how to answer it. He's going to give you the shirt and tie answer. Thank you for the question. Yes, I think it's important we do this. But Donald Trump's not like that. And this is what really was amazing with Donald Trump. He brought in people that do not vote. The other thing is the other thing that's interesting about, people being so passionate about voting in America, even though they are, still 50% of people don't vote. We have 50% voter turnout, for the last elections. I'll be honest, I did not vote in the 2008, 2012, 2016 elections. And I'm a bit un-American of me, I guess. I didn't vote. Now, part of the reason was I was living in China, and it's just really mafan, to go overseas. I believe when I was in Shanghai, I had to go to the consulate, and if you've been to the American consulate in China, it is a huge queue. It's like kind of the whole day. So you try to avoid that unless I needed, for a passport renewal. So I just didn't feel, I just didn't want to vote. It wasn't a huge deal to me. So I didn't vote in the last 3 elections. I have registered. I am going to vote in this election. I figured, why not? Let's go ahead and give a vote for 2020. But that's the thing with Donald Trump, is that he did it his way. He said, I'm going to come in. I'm not going to speak like a politician. I'm going to speak my mind. We've seen this for the last 4 years. He is not shy on the Twitter. He doesn't sound like a president, but that is what so many American people loved. And that's why he has a tremendous fan base in America, is because he's almost like he's the people's president. There's certainly when you go to the South and the right wing, conservatives, they love Donald Trump. And because it's just simply, he talks his mind. He's a businessman. I love him. So I think, kind of personally, I think he still has a very good shot of winning this election again, because his fan base is very deep, is very deep. But I think what we need to realize is with China and the Chinese people is that they, it's not an important thing for them, because they have so much structure. And I think this is probably a topic that I could do in another YouTube video. I think when you look at companies around the world, let's take Apple. I always like to use Apple because they're the most valuable company. They just passed $2 trillion in market cap, which is amazing. So they're one of the most valuable company, probably the most valuable company in the world. And I think the interesting thing with with Apple is obviously I always comment, Apple has been successful because of their relationship with China. Somebody said, well, you know what, Cyrus? All of the Apple iPhones are designed in California. And I said, so it's actually American. I'm like, of course it is. It's definitely an American company. But let's be honest, they're manufactured in China, and they're manufactured for an exceptional margin. And then they are imported back into America where they're sold for up to 60, 70% net profit. Why do you think they're a $2 trillion company? They're making a ton of money because of their relationship with China. And I think when we're talking about, democracy and meritocracy and the difference between the two systems, I think if you look at Apple, when Steve Jobs passed away, who was the next person in line to succeed him was, of course, Tim Cook. Tim Cook's the CEO of Apple right now. Now, you're not going to have a vote on who should. It's not a popularity contest. Hey, our founder and CEO, our visionary has passed away. Who's going to be the next guy to lead Apple? If you're interested, why don't you submit your ballot? And we're going to have a vote on who's popular. That's not how it works. Tim Cook entered Apple 20 years ago. I mean, he was chosen by Steve Jobs to enter in. He has a tremendous background in computers. I think he's worked for IBM and many other competitors, but he's been with Apple since 1998. And he was chosen by Steve Jobs to be the successor. And he was groomed for that position, and he had the experience. And that's why you see, as soon as Tim Cook takes over, Apple has continued to skyrocket. I mean, it's doing amazing things, and it's an amazing company. And I think that's what you see is, with companies, if you have a goal of being the CEO of IBM, well, you know what you need to do? You need to get into IBM and you need to work your way up, because it's going to take you 3 decades of hard work in order to become the CEO. And I like these systems that are based on, merit. You have to achieve something. You have to have an incredible amount of experience. In my last video, I made the example, Kamala Harris, very, very little political experience. There's a very realistic shot a year from now, maybe 18 months from now, she could be the president of the United States. And again, I don't have anything against her. I think that I know she's a very accomplished lawyer, district attorney for the city of San Francisco, attorney general for the state of California. I believe she held those positions for about 17 years. So phenomenal lawyer, great career. I actually like her. I think she's, great speaker, all of this. But does she have the credentials to really lead America? Probably debatable, but, there's a very realistic chance that she could, become the president. If Joe Biden wins, if Joe Biden does beat Donald Trump, I just don't think there's any way he's going to make it 4 years. I really believe he does have some health issues. I believe, you could see within a year, he just said, what, I can't continue. I'm going to have to pass it on to my VP. Very realistic, possibility. But anyways, guys, I've been talking a lot. I've been seeing all of these comments going in the stream. I so appreciate all of you, joining. We have over 500 people live. This is amazing. I'm just so thankful for everybody. I do want to, let me just look at some of the questions. If you have, I know we've got people tuning in from everywhere. I mean, we've got people in Shenzhen, Africa, Germany, Australia. This is really cool. I just appreciate you guys taking time out of your Sunday to join me here on the live stream. And, at this point, I want to do, I've been chatting, excuse me, roughly about 30 minutes. I'm going to make this 60 minutes. So we're going to do exactly 60-minute show today. And what I want to do is I want to open it up to some questions that you have. I'm very passionate about China. I could talk about this all day long. And let's open it up to a few questions. And I want to just give out some super chats. So I've got Cheese sent in a little donation here. Thank you. Thanks. Hope more American people can treat China as a friend to co-work together for a better world. No media, fake news, no hate, respect each other. Guys, that's exactly what my channel is all about. This is something you'll hear me and speak in a lot of my videos. When China and the United States come together, the world wins. It's as simple as that. And I had a dream. I had a dream that, a couple months ago. This might sound a little just funny. I just said, what if America and China were best friends? How cool would that be? I mean, if we had the top two, countries in the world, these two superpowers were just incredible allies. And I still have hope for that. As crazy as that sounds, I still have hope for that, because I almost think of it like a relationship, like me. My wife is Chinese, and there's many Americans that have married Chinese. And I think it's interesting because when you marry a Chinese national, and when you have these cultures coming together, there's tremendous differences in culture. And I think one of the interesting things was, and I'll kind of go off topic a little bit, was, for instance, when we had our children, the Chinese have a very different way of bringing up their children than Westerners. And we actually had some very funny cultural conflicts. For instance, my mother is from Germany, so I actually grew up on a very regimented, strict schedule, very strict schedule. And I think, so for example, my wife and I, we have chosen to, with our three children, we have them on very strict bedtimes, very strict nap times. And, our schedule for the day does not budge. Now, a lot of Chinese don't do that. The Chinese are kind of like, typically, and this is not to stereotype, but the Chinese are more, the child will sleep when they sleep, they'll eat when they eat. They're a little bit more, 随意的, 很随便的, And so my mother-in-law was always just like, hey, I'm coming over tonight at 9 o'clock. I want to see the kids. And we're like, well, they go to bed. They go to bed at 7 o'clock. She's like, oh, it's okay. Popo's coming over. Don't worry. We want to, keep the kids up for a bit. And we're like, no, like this is we have a very strict schedule. Like they got to go to bed at 7 o'clock. That's how we have the kids on. They're very young. We want them sleeping well. Sleeping's important for them. So there are these cultural differences that, I've had in my marriage. But what we do is you find a way, you focus on the similarities, you realize that there will be differences and you accept those, but you find a common ground and you move forward. And that's essentially the point I'm trying to make. We have to realize that at the end of the day, I think China and the US are still very similar. I mean, for instance, both countries, your goal as a country, you want to move forward as a nation. And I think, for instance, when we're talking a trade war, with China, I believe, that's not in the best interest of China, America, the American people, or Chinese people. It's a lose-lose for everybody. So why don't we focus on winning? And again, like I said, Apple has benefited from, its relationship with China. But who also is? The American consumer. We can buy this iPhone for so much cheaper now because of our relationship with China. If you manufactured all these iPhones in America, what would that cost? But even everything, China has made our way of life in America so much more affordable, so much more convenient. And I really think it's really incredible when we think of trying to find ways to work together. So, geez, I love your comment. That's what this channel is trying to do. And I say this, I say it 100 times, I'll say it 100 more. When China and the US come together, the world wins. And that's exactly what we need to focus on. So I'm hoping videos like this and, live chats and connecting with you guys, this is what we need to do. This is the thing. Let me look through. Karen Shen, thank you very much for sending in that sticker. Very kind. Simon Barnes, great to hear a grounded opinion about both sides. Absolutely. I mean, that's what we need. Is we need to have people in the middle. I think the other thing is, I got to tell you this funny story. I was talking with a client here in Canada, and this is a really funny story. He had actually, they had actually sold a business to an American company. So there's a Canadian business, and I'm not going to tell the name of the company or the products, just for confidentiality. But anyways, there's a Canadian business, and what they did is they sold their business to a larger American one. Now, the products that they were selling here in Canada were actually manufactured. The vast majority, well over 75% of them, were, manufactured in China. And so this American business that bought the Canadian business, they said, we're very happy to buy this Canadian company. This is an amazing time in our history. And they talked about China. He's like, China's really weak right now. We are going, America has an amazing opportunity. We need to crush China. We got to crush them right now. This is our opportunity. And my client's looking at him. He's like, well, you do realize that when you're buying this Canadian company, 75% of the products that we sell are actually manufactured in China. In addition to that, when you're buying this company, we're going to give you access to all of our manufacturers, our suppliers. Like, you're going to need to deal with people on the ground in China manufacturing this and now importing them not into Canada, but back into the US. So I don't really understand what you're saying, because you're like, I want to crush them, but you've just bought a business that relies on China. Do you see the irony there? And he's just, and he couldn't see it. He's just like, yeah, but I still think China's really weak. This is really our time to crush them. And it's just, and my Canadian friend came back and he's like, I just don't get it. Like, why would he have this outset? He's obviously a well-accomplished businessman. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's buying a huge business, but that's kind of the thing that, I think, and again, it comes from the top. When it comes from our leadership in the top, and they're saying, China's the greatest threat to the world right now. I mean, I don't see that. I mean, I look at China, you look at this One Belt initiative, and I think it's really interesting. I think when a lot of people in America would say this about China and the One Belt, they're saying, look, China is trying to go into Africa and to all of these smaller countries, and they're trying to dominate world trade. And I just said, well, why don't we switch that word dominate? Why don't we try to say they're trying to facilitate world trade? I mean, and I've seen people on Twitter, they've posted these images of, African kids learning Chinese. And they're like, look at these poor African children. They're being forced to learn Chinese. That obviously goes against their will. Why would they want to learn Chinese? Chinese people are going in there to Africa and saying, you must learn my language. And I just said, I think it's all perspective. I mean, the odd thing is I'm in Vancouver right now, and the most private and elitist school that we have in Vancouver is on North Vancouver, very elite academy that is actually filled with Caucasian and East Indian students, and it is a Mandarin immersion school. They teach Mandarin and English, but it is basically designed that when you graduate, from high school, you will be absolutely perfectly fluent in Mandarin. It's about $30,000 US dollars, well, about 30,000 Canadian dollars a year to send your child to the school. It is a uber exclusive private school. So it's funny because it's like the perspective. In the West, we have people that are paying a ton of money to give their child an opportunity to learn Chinese. Is learning Chinese a bad thing? Of course not. It's the most spoken language in the world. I mean, look at President Trump's granddaughter. She speaks fluent Chinese. She's been taking Mandarin lessons for years. Her Chinese is perfect. She has an amazing Chinese accent. And it's amazing how, 5 years ago, everybody's like, I really want my kid to learn Mandarin because in the future, it'll be good for business. But then on the flip side, it's like, well, why are all these kids in Africa learning Chinese? That's torture. They're being held against their will. No, it's not. This is an amazing opportunity. If you come from a poor country, a poor country in Africa, and you're learning English, you're learning Chinese, you're going to be set up for future success. Now, the other thing is that China is obviously investing money into Africa, and they are providing a tremendous amount of resources for the people there. They're creating jobs. And the thing is people criticize. They say, well, China's going in there and they're only expecting to make a return. They're expecting to make a profit. And that's like, well, yeah, that's how business works. I mean, would the United States go into another country and not want to make a return on their investment? I mean, again, it's not like they're trying to rob the people of their opportunity. I think, I saw a really great thing from a video from Alex from Reporter Prime Media. He did a travel series going to the Maldives, and he had talked about, how the Chinese government had invested into this airport and expanded the airport. And I thought it was quite amazing because, obviously there's a tremendous amount of Chinese tourists there. And so, they're going to help build this airport. I'm sure they're going to receive revenues back from that. I mean, they're going to receive a return on this investment, but it also helps bring more Chinese people into the Maldives. I mean, who's going to be the big winner at the end of the day? It's the citizens of the Maldives. Maldives is entirely supported by tourism. The more tourism that comes in, the more money the local people are going to get. The better off the GDP the entire country is going to be. So I think I just don't like this analysis that China is trying to dominate. They're trying to take advantage of all of these, smaller countries. Honestly, I think that, America does the same thing. We go and develop other countries around the world. I mean, I went to Santiago, Chile. Now, Santiago, Chile, beautiful country in South America. If you go to Santiago, it's extremely developed. One of the most developed cities you'll find in all of South America. The reason for that is because the United States was very active in building up that country's, infrastructure. One of the biggest things, if you know Chile is the longest country in the world. It's, from top to bottom, I don't know how many kilometers it is, but it's a very narrow country, right? It's very narrow and very long. So it's a very unusual country. And the fact that, for instance, back in the 1960s, it was very difficult for Chile to set up telecommunications, to set up phone lines because of the difficulty from reaching from north to south. It was so long, so many kilometers. And the United States actually went in. The United States helped set all that up. And of course, the reason they did that is because, the companies that were doing that were listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They were making a tremendous amount of money. But the people of Chile benefited as well. They got to have phone lines and they had to have all this infrastructure. And you can see the American influence for the people in Chile. There's a tremendous benefit for both. I mean, the U.S. made a lot of money on that deal. Obviously, they wouldn't go there if they didn't. No one's, United States is not going to a country saying, we're going to build up your country, just to help you. We're not going to make a single dollar. We're just going to do it because we love you guys. It's goodwill. Hats off to you. They're not doing that. I mean, that's part of it. Yeah, we want to help you, but we want to make money back. That's called investing. That's how the world works. So I think that when you look at, this One Belt initiative, and we're looking at how China's connecting the Middle East, Africa, building this whole initiative, they're facilitating the world trade. They're building more infrastructure. New schools are being built in Africa from Chinese investment. This is helping the local people at the end of the day. Yeah, do you think it's great to learn Chinese? Absolutely. Why wouldn't you want to learn Chinese? Chinese is a fantastic language. I've studied Chinese for so long. I'm still studying it every day. But I mean, I've traveled over 60 countries in the world. I can always find Chinese people to speak with. It's fantastic. Why wouldn't you want to equip these kids from Africa with another language? So I don't agree, with these comments. So let's go on through, some more comments here. All right, Jerry from This Is China. Congrats on the 20K, mate. Thank you, buddy. Great channel, This Is China. Also, Barrett channel. I want to thank Lee. He's been on here, helping out, doing some moderating, which has been great. And also, This Is China. So these are the guys that we did the Let's Talk China show. I really appreciate your guys' support as well. Being here. Alex from Reporter Fry Media. All these guys are, close friends of mine here on YouTube. And Catherine from Hong Kong, 100 Hong Kong dollars. Thank you so much for that nice goal emoji. That's very kind of you. Just want to say, guys, I'm just so honored to be here. SL Toy from Hong Kong as well. Calibre Wings. Here we go. This is a great question here. Why didn't you stay in China during COVID since your work is there? What are you doing in Canada now? And what is your plan for the next 2 to 5 years? Great question. Fantastic. So I'm actually going to be making a YouTube video, and I think there's some YouTube videos on China. There's some YouTube videos about how people left China. For instance, there's a few well-known YouTubers that have said, why I left China for good, or why I'm leaving China. I'm going to make a similar video on why I left China. Now, I have left China full time. So I am now based in Vancouver, Canada. This is my home. My wife is Chinese Canadian. So my wife is actually a Canadian national. She grew up here in Vancouver. And so the big thing, I'm gonna make a YouTube video, but for everybody that's here live, I'm gonna give you a preview of what this is. I'm gonna basically talk about why I left China. And the real reason that I left China is not the fact that, for instance, I feel I don't have freedoms in China. I don't think the quality of life is good in China. It was actually because I had an opportunity to come to Canada. Now, many of you know that I am from America. I'm a proud American. But what's really interesting is I came to Canada in 2011. And I came here on a holiday with my wife. And I found a country in Canada that was just actually this perfect mix of the West and the East. Now, we're currently living in Richmond, Canada, Richmond, British Columbia. Now, for many of you, if you've ever flown into Vancouver, the actual airport, Vancouver International Airport, is in the city of Richmond. Now, Richmond is an amazing place. Richmond it has a tremendous Asian population. About 70% of people in Richmond are Chinese. So the incredible thing here is when you're in the downtown Richmond, you can we have Chinese supermarkets here. We have Chinese restaurants. You can basically live your entire life in Richmond speaking Chinese. And it's quite amazing. Vancouver as a city has its own Chinatown that was big back in the 80s, 90s. It's kind of the historic Chinatown, with the Chinese gate and kind of some Chinese restaurants. But I actually say that's not really the Chinatown in Vancouver. The actual Chinatown is Richmond, because you come here, and you actually hear many Chinese people say this: the best Chinese food in the world is in Richmond, British Columbia, Canada, because we have all the Chinese people here. We have a tremendous amount of Chinese people have come here to Richmond, and they have opened up, authentic, hot pot restaurants and dim sum restaurants. We have all of the big chains. For instance, we have this chain restaurant called Tai Er. Tai Er is a very suan cai yu, which is the suan cai. I forgot how to say that. Like what is that? The German pickled cabbage, sauerkraut. Thank you. Gosh, I forgot how to say that. So you have the suan cai yu, which is the sauerkraut and fish. And so it's the Tai Er suan cai yu. It's a very famous chain in China. They opened up their first international location in Richmond, British Columbia. And so we have, some of these great Chongqing and Chengdu hot pot restaurants that are big chains, they've all opened up in Richmond. So we have the authentic, real deal food right here in Richmond. One of the greatest things we have is the Richmond Night Market, which is a huge night market, and it makes you feel like you're back in China. There's 10,000 people, huge night market. We've got guys from Xinjiang coming over doing the yang rou chuar, all the lamb skewers. I mean, it is fantastic. So anyways, my big thing is, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but my big thing is we came to Canada because we had an opportunity to come here. And for myself, I'm actually working on becoming a Canadian citizen. So I'm about 7 months away from being eligible to become a Canadian citizen. And I really fell in love with Canada because this is what I say. And again, this is kind of the point of this video will be more, it's not the fact that I don't love China or that, there was no opportunity in China. It's just the fact that I found Canada, and Canada was an amazing place. And the thing is, for me, the difference is as an American, everything that I love about America, I can find here in Canada. But everything I don't like about America is not here in Canada. That's the difference between Canada and America. And that's my de facto answer. Cyrus, you've been living in Canada. What's the difference between the two countries? That right there. What do I mean? Racism. That's a big thing. In America, racism is a huge problem. And I know it has. I mean, we have a complicated history in America. In Canada, there's never been any slavery, right? That's a huge deal. We had slavery in America, and it started with that. But in Canada, and in Canada, certainly racism is slightly on the rise because of COVID, for example. We've seen more Asian racism because of COVID here in Canada. However, let's say China, if America's here, Canada's seen we've seen a little bit of an increase. Not a lot. As a whole, what I love about Canada is that it's a country that truly embraces diversity. And that is what makes Canada unique. And I believe in America, we don't embrace diversity. We really don't. And this is the difference. We often hear this cliche about America. America is a melting pot of cultures. You'll hear that all the time. Think about this for a second. If you have a melting pot, whatever you put in to the melting pot, it melts together into one thing, one unit. So, and this is really interesting. Now, many of you might not know, my mother is from Germany. She's a German national. To this day, she keeps a German citizenship. My mother is not American, despite the fact that she has lived in America for 50 years. She's very proud of being a German national. So she came to America at the age of 19, and my first language was German. I grew up speaking German with her in the house. When I went to kindergarten in America, I struggled to speak English. And everybody said, "What are you doing with this kid? You can't teach him German. You are in America. We do not speak German here. That's a language of Hitler and all that. We don't speak that. You are American. You learn English." And that was the difference. So my mom, she's like, "Oh gosh, let me just train him to be an American." And she stopped at German. I didn't study German from then on, and I just learned speaking English. And this was the difference, as I said, is that in Canada, what you have a different thing is, if my mom had immigrated to Canada, I believe it would have went like this. Her name's Heidi. Heidi, it's great that you're German. Welcome to Canada. Keep your German roots. Teach your kids German. Just make sure that they also speak English because you're in Canada. And we want to take the diversity. We embrace the diversity. It's fantastic that you speak German. Learn English as well. Let's come together. You're a German Canadian. That's what you are. But in America, we want you to be American. We want you to just speak English, fit into our society. And I think that's what we have here in Canada is you have a tremendous, an amazing Chinese Canadian community here. And that's what's happening. People embrace the fact that, you can speak Chinese here. Also encourage you, learn English. Obviously, we're in Canada. You need to learn English as well. But we have this amazing diverse culture here where I kind of see this society, and it's almost, for me as America, I just see, like, as an American, I just say, man, this is almost like a big miss. We have an opportunity to do this, but we're not. And this is a big fundamental difference. So again, my purpose in leaving China, I know it's a very long answer, is the fact that we have an opportunity, to raise our kids here in Canada. And the other thing about it that was really interesting is my wife she was very passionate about coming back to Canada because she grew up here. She said, British Columbia is one of the most beautiful places in the world. I want my children to grow up there, kind of just enjoy the mountains, the snow, the beach, the ocean. We have everything here, and it's a great place to be. Hence why there's so many Chinese people here. But I think the interesting thing is, even if some of the people here, they'd be like, obviously there a lot of Chinese people are leaving China to come to Canada, because they don't like China. It's not because they don't like China. It's just because they have an opportunity here in Canada. And that's similar to me. I had an opportunity to come to Canada. I have a great opportunity here. Now, what am I doing right now? What I realized is when I was getting ready to leave China, I struggled so much to leave China. I'm gonna be honest with you. The first 6 months in Canada, I had depression. I had missed China so much. But the other thing is I built up a huge career in China. And not to sound arrogant at all, but I invested a lot. I spent a lot of time learning Chinese. I had worked up my way at the corporate ladder in China. I had a great corporate job in China. And I kind of felt, you know what, I'm kind of a big fish in a big pond over here in China. And again, I'm not trying to sound arrogant. I'm just saying I've been working hard on my career. And the thought of going to Canada was really, it was really intimidating. I was like, man, like I have to almost start over again in Canada. And my wife just said, you know what? You have the ability to do that, but you have to remember this. How many white guys can speak Chinese in Canada? How many people in Canada know about Chinese business? And so what I did is I took that opportunity and now I've started a marketing company here in Canada. So what am I doing right now is I'm actually helping Canadian businesses market to the incredible Chinese population that we have here. One of the things that we do, and this is why I know a lot about WeChat, is that we help local vendors and merchants set up WeChat and Alipay. So I'm working with the Vancouver Tourism Board, working with Tourism Whistler. I'm working with these companies saying, this is why you need to accept WeChat and Alipay, because Vancouver is a hub for travel from Asia. Obviously not this year with COVID, but it will be. And obviously, given the Chinese population, it's an easy place for Chinese to come. But like I said, we need to have WeChat and Alipay at all these places. So I'm helping people set that up. In addition, I'm helping businesses set up WeChat official accounts, helping basically connecting that bridge. And so now we have Chinese nationals, for instance, you come into these local businesses and it's like, you can use WeChat and Alipay, follow our WeChat official account. It's like, wow, you guys know how to do marketing. Like you guys know how to market to Chinese. So I'm serving this gap. And this is what I'm doing right now. In the next 2 to 5 years, I want to keep growing this business, and I want to keep expanding. We're also helping companies going back into China. I actually I'm active with a couple golf companies. Golf is I know a lot about golf. I used to do that full time as a profession, but I'm helping PGA of America and some other people with their ventures overseas back in China. So kind of going both ways. So I want to just be this consultant that is helping businesses on both ends. But I'm very happy to be here in Canada, and watch out for some future videos talking about, again, this decision to leave China. I want people to realize that Chinese people leave China because of opportunity in another place. It's exactly why I left America. I left America at the age of 23 because I had an opportunity to become a golf coach in China. Now, many people say, well, Cyrus, why don't you become a golf coach in America? Do you know how many golf coaches there are in America? Probably 40,000 golf coaches in America, at least, probably more. You know how many American golf coaches there are in China? At that time, when I went in 2007, less than 10, guaranteed, less than 10. So all of a sudden, within a year, I studied hard for 1 year learning Chinese. Within 1 year, I was giving lessons in Mandarin. And, and again, I'm not trying to sound arrogant. I'm just saying, look, I saw an opportunity. And within a few years, I had a very good career teaching golf in China. And people said, oh, why did you go to China? Because of opportunity. Why do Chinese people go abroad? Because of opportunity. I know we had a Chinese national that was tuning in from Nigeria. Somebody asked him, why do you go to Africa? Opportunity. We're building roads. We're building infrastructure. We have opportunity. Chinese people, very smart. They are going around the world, and it's amazing because they see the opportunities wherever they are, and they're opening up restaurants. They're doing international trade, all of these things. Some of my friends here, one of them owns an amazing baby store. Baby products, is huge. As a parent of 3 kids, I think it's one of the best businesses of all time because, when you're a mom, you don't care what the price is. You just want what's best for your baby. So they import all of this stuff in from China. They have a huge shop here in Vancouver doing amazing business because they're importing in and taking advantage of the market. Great entrepreneur, Chinese entrepreneur here in Canada. So, guys, I'm going off a little bit. Let's answer a few more questions. I want to thank you guys. We're over 700 people tuning in right now. Erie, thank you so much for the donation. Very nice. I'm just so grateful. Mary Ching, thank you as well for the donation. Very happy to be here with you guys. Just wanted to give you a little bit more insights into my life and what we're doing. That's a great question, though. I am going to talk. Why didn't we stay in China during COVID? Again, we were here in Canada. Now, the interesting thing is we were planning to go back to back to China this summer. we had to cancel. Obviously, we're not able to go back to China right now. However, we are looking to go back to China probably next summer. We're going to probably go back to Guangzhou, where my wife is from. We're going to probably base there for July and August. We're going to take our kids back. We want that. We try to go back to China once a year. Obviously, our oldest is now entering kindergarten, so we need to go during the summer holidays. So we're probably going to go back. Both of my wife's grandmothers are still alive, so we want our children to meet their great grandparents, which would be a really awesome. Really awesome thing. But I'm looking forward to getting back to China, doing some collaboration with some with some other YouTubers, but also just keep continuing to show these insights. So I think what we'll do right now is I'm going to tell you a little bit about some future goals that I have for this channel as we're growing. The channel has received a lot of support in the last month, especially. We just passed 20,000 subscribers yesterday. Just very humbled, very honored for everybody that chooses to support this channel. I really had a vision that I wanted to make YouTube videos. And I was very intimidated when I started on YouTube. I mean, YouTube is such an intimidating platform. And I honestly remember the day that I got 100 subscribers, because I get a little email from YouTube and it's like, hey, you get 100 subscribers. And I took a screenshot of that and I put it out and I printed it out. I was like, hey, to my wife, I got 100 subscribers. This is great. Like, I'm actually making some progress here. And, I just couldn't, I just said, you know what, just keep putting out these pieces about China. I love this quote: be the change you want to see in the world, right? And so what I want to see in this world is I want to see a world where we understand more about China. Earlier in the video, I talked about people fear China because they don't understand it. I love some of the other YouTubers that I collaborate with that have shown insights into China, that have a passion for China. I think we all have a very similar goal. We need to see people coming together and China coming, people better understanding China. Now, the future of this channel, what we're going to do, I'm in a process of hiring some team members. I want to actually hire a full-time person to start putting in Chinese subtitles, but also start putting some more Chinese videos, on Bilibili, Toutiao. Now, I am active on Douyin. Many of you might see me on Douyin. If you haven't followed me on Douyin, check out my handle is Wengehua Laowai. Wengehua Laowai is Vancouver Foreigner. So I've made a handle on that. And anyways, what I want to do is we're going to also start a membership site, either through YouTube memberships or either Patreon. So it's going to give you an ability to basically join the channel as a member. And we're going to do some more live shows like this, but it's going to give you inside access to exclusive content. And also, what the best thing is it's going to allow you guys to also chat with me and really talk about issues that you want talked. If you want to have a video talked about, I've had a lot of requests, for example, to do a Xinjiang video. I think many of you know with my videos, I take a lot of time to really research and gather facts. It takes me a long time to make a YouTube video because I put a lot of work on the back end before I can put that video out. So I'm in the process of still gathering some information and doing that. I'll give you guys a sneak preview about that Xinjiang video. Interesting thing, I've never been to Xinjiang. So I will put a disclaimer in the video. Look, I've never been to Xinjiang. However, there is a few red flags that have been raised by me, basically because the people that are talking about Xinjiang, they've been very wrong on other parts about China. For instance, we've got guys that are criticizing this is a genocide happening in Xinjiang. See, the problem is just the verbiage. When you use the word genocide, immediately, what do you think of? You think of the Holocaust. So you immediately, without just saying anything or knowing any context, people in their minds are thinking, oh my gosh, do they have gas chambers there? Are they just slaughtering millions upon millions of people? That's it. That's naturally what your mind is going to think. Obviously, we know that's not true. So there's just people that, you have to be very careful with your words these days. You say genocide and it means something totally different than actually what's happening there. So I think what you need to do is we need to be very cautious of the words that we're using. But the people that are the most critical about Xinjiang are obviously most critical about China, and they're very wrong in other ways. One of the videos that I saw was about in Wuhan. They had a video of people that were scooping up cell phones, right? And he said, look at all of these cell phones. Probably 20, 30,000 cell phones were dropped in this parking lot, before all of these people died in the Wuhan because of coronavirus. God rest their souls. China is unreporting numbers. And it made me so angry because, first of all, the quality of that video is so poor. you can't even tell it's in China. It's literally just pictures of shovels with cell phones. It could be anywhere in the world. And all of a sudden, they're saying this is in Wuhan, and there's probably, 30, 40, 50,000 people that died. No one knows where they're at. And the problem is you put that out on Twitter, and that gets picked up by Western media, and it spreads, and everyone's like, look at China. They're covering things up. We know that's not true. That just simply is not happening. And, it just really breaks my heart. So that's kind of the thing where I'm going to be going down that route. Is I'm going to be looking at facts, people that are saying this is what's happening in China, in Xinjiang. I'm going to be backing those up with facts, and I'm going to be presenting kind of my side of the Xinjiang story. But very similar to my last one, I'm going to say, look, here's the facts. This is the research that I've done. You make your decision on what's actually happening in Xinjiang. I'd love to go. I hope there's an opportunity for me to go and experience that. But anyways, we're going to be growing this channel, and I want to give an opportunity for you. I know I have a lot of loyal supporters, a lot of people asking, Cyrus, how can we help grow this channel? I'm going to provide a pathway to do that, either through Patreon or YouTube memberships, maybe both. I'm not sure. I need to figure that out. But stay tuned. We're going to be launching that, where you can become, an insider, if you will, to gain access to insider content. But also, I'm going to start a private WeChat group where we can talk about things. We can have access, and basically get your opinion on things. We can, as we continue to grow this channel. What I want to do, really, the future of this, I want to keep growing this because I want to be that light in the world that is going to bring balance. That is my goal. Is that we need to have balance, and we need to have just rational thinking. So, anyways, I want to thank you all for coming here on the live stream today. I want to thank you all for the comments. I know I didn't read a lot of them. I'm scanning a lot of them, and you guys are just you guys are awesome. I'm just trying to read some of these comments and everyone. So Kang, Cyrus, a big thank you. That's my power. Pui Dai Dai, they sell wonderful Xinjiang food. Xinjiang's amazing. I love Xinjiang food. It's when I was in Shanghai, I absolutely love. We used to go for the yang rou tuar, right? And then obviously the da pan ji is an amazing dish, but also the Xinjiang heipi, the black beer, amazing beer, so good. Simon Barnes, thank you for the comment. I know you're a big supporter on the channel. So I just want to thank all these guys. Can you talk about Xinjiang? I think we covered that, Isaac, talking about Xinjiang. I mean, is it true with the concentration camp? Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, this is my point with this video. I'm gonna give you guys a preview again for joining me on the live stream about what my main message on this Xinjiang video will be. We have to realize Xinjiang had an incredible amount of terrorism that was happening, and I have nothing wrong against the Muslim religion. I am I'm very open to everything. I realize that we live in a very diverse world. And I do not believe that there is only one way to go about things. I believe that that entails many different things. Government is one of them. I don't think there's one form of government. And that's kind of what I said in the last one, right? Democracy and China's system have both proven to be successful. They're both successful. So why do we have to say one's better than the other? But so talking about the Muslim religion, unfortunately, one of the downsides to that is that there are a lot of extremists. And a lot of those extremists are very violent, and that is, a part of the Muslim religion. Now, I don't believe that's not part of the Muslim religion. That's unfortunately a side effect. And so what happens is that you have these extremists. Many of them were trained under Al-Qaeda, that were taking out terrorist attacks. And this was a major thing that was happening in China. Now, China chose to address this problem very differently. And it's very interesting for me as an American to hear Americans say, well, what about the Muslims in China? But it's like, Americans don't like Muslims. We're one of the most Islamophobic countries in the world. I mean, look, as soon as the 9/11 happened, everyone went against bashing against Muslims and everything. But now all of a sudden, we're going to support Muslims in China. It's really an interesting thing. I mean, the reality is, and this is the thing, is when you look at this, I'm going to drop a truth bomb right here. When you look at the United States, why are they interested in Hong Kong? Why are they interested in Tibet, Xinjiang, all of these places? Is it really because they care about the people of those places, or is it the fact that they're trying to weaken China? And that's the thing when you look at it, right? You've got, Xinjiang, Tibet, Hong Kong, all of these, regions. And I even saw this bogus map that was being shared on social media, and it was a picture of China, and it was saying, the actual proper China is actually only, let's say the eastern half of China, this small part. He's like, this is actually Tibet, this is Xinjiang, this is Mongolia, this is, Yunnan. These are all like basically China overtook everything. China, as we know today, that's not China. They've basically taken over everything. And I said, well, it's very similar to the United States. Look at the United States. We made the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, I believe the date was. And that was a purchase from France that we bought. And we doubled the size of the United States overnight. We bought Alaska. We took over Hawaii. I mean, is Hawaii part of the States? We invaded it. We took it over. Everyone recognizes it's the 50th state. I mean, if we were going to talk about, people say, Tibet's not part of China. It is. It's literally part of China. I mean, you can't, it's fundamentally part of China. So I think when you're talking about Xinjiang, China chose a different way of dealing with this. The amazing thing is there hasn't been a terrorist attack in Xinjiang in, I think, 45 months. In addition to that, they have trained these people in learning Mandarin, helping them get better jobs. I think that there is just a lot of things people don't understand about the Xinjiang. The problem is we have this just against the people are saying, look, millions of people are dying in Xinjiang. Are they though? Do we have these facts? Do we really know that millions of people are? A couple other things. If there are, why is it that no other Muslim country in the world is speaking out on China and Xinjiang? Why is it that we had other Muslim countries go to Xinjiang for a visit and say what they're doing there is good? I mean, if there really was, if millions of people are dying in Xinjiang, don't you think they'd be sneaking over that border to their other Muslim countries seeking asylum? We haven't heard anybody do that. So there's just a lot of red flags about this. We're going to talk about this in detail in my upcoming YouTube video about that. But anyways, guys, I want to thank you. Let's go ahead and we're going to wrap it up here today. Joanna Lee, thank you so much for the the keep it up emoji there. She's been a big supporter, always comments on my videos. Thank you, Joanna. I'm sorry if I missed any, but I'm just scrolling back through just to make sure. Isaac, I got your question about Xinjiang. Fluff, thanks, Cyrus. Your videos are awesome. Please shout out to all the awesome people in the chat. Lee, Jerry, Alchemist, Calibre, and so on. Absolutely. Guys, you are why we do this channel and such a huge part of this community. So I want to thank Alex from Reporter Fry Media. He's the one that brought me on to the Let's Talk China show about 6 weeks ago. That is where I met other great YouTubers out there. Guilo60, the Barrett channel, Jerry from This Is China, obviously Alex Absolute, these guys that I've been able to, go on to this show with and talk about China. It's been amazing for me because I have a passion for China, and starting this YouTube channel and connecting on these live videos, that's been so motivating for me because I'm still living my China dream and I still love China. And again, this is where I think my unique angle is as an American, I'm pro-China and I'm pro-America. And we are, and this is what we have to think is it's okay. That's okay to be there. And my next YouTube video that I'm going to be making, I'm going to be releasing early next week, going to give you guys a preview. The title will be, Is It Un-American to Support China? That's the title of the video. And it's basically going to be talking about, the fact that I am an American that supports his home country and supports China. Is that actually un-American to do that? I won't tell you more. I want you to watch the video. It's going to come out later this week, but that's going to be my next video talking about these things. Again, guys, I want to just thank you all for, your time today. We're going to wrap this up. We've just been over an hour, but it has been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to go over and read, some more of these comments. Let's see. I got RT said, do you and your wife also speak Cantonese?我哋識講廣東話，真係冇問題啦。No, I can. 我識講少少，真係要勤力啲啊。而家學緊廣東話。So I used to live in Hong Kong for 3 years, and I learned a decent amount of Cantonese when I was living there. I love the language. My wife, her native tongue is Cantonese, so we do speak a lot of Cantonese in the house. I'm very good at listening. I understand quite a lot. It's funny, my in-laws, they're hilarious. They we normally speak in Mandarin, and as now that I'm learning Cantonese, they've just gone like full Cantonese with me. They're just like, oh, great, you speak Cantonese now, perfect. And so I'm like, well, I'm not there yet, but I can kind of get it, but sometimes I still respond back in Mandarin. But it's definitely, something, as people from the South, if you're from Guangdong, Canton, Hong Kong, I mean, you love the Cantonese language. It is a great passion. So we're teaching our kids, a little bit of Cantonese, and they're learning Mandarin as well. And I'm excited, for that because, like those kids in Africa, I think that people learning Chinese is the best thing you can do. All right. Da, da, da. Okay. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up there today. I think I've got all of the comments and everybody. I want to just thank you so much for all your support. Oh, George Go. I'm interested in applying for your recruitment as an assistant. Where should I send you my CV? You know what? Send it to my email. I'm going to drop down my email. Just send it to cyrusjanssen@gmail.com. And I'll write this in the chat. Anybody can just send me an email. There you go. Drop me an email if you want to interested. I am going to be looking to hire some assistants to help out with some content, and as we continue to grow this channel, guys, I'm gonna leave it today. So first of all, thank you to for everybody that Lee and Jerry for coming in and moderating. Guys, I'm just so happy to be here. Again, it was my absolute pleasure to answer your questions today and to connect with you. We're going to do more live streams like this. If you like this, we're going to do that. I did a poll earlier on my community tab trying to find the right time that is available. Obviously, weekend's going to be the best, but I appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday to join me here on YouTube Live. If you want to do more live streams like that, we can do it. Absolutely, let's do it. I'm passionate about building this community as we move forward. So guys, I'm going to sign out for today. Thank you all for your amazing support, and look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thank you.